Today, we are going to present about topic enhancing students' motivation of learn. This chapter we cover about the motivation, expectations, strategies, and how to motivate. So let's jump. Learning motivation is the process that gives rise to energy and direction for learning engagement that influence from intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation refers to the individual engaging in activities or tasks purely for the sake of personal interest or enjoyment. Extrinsic motivation refers to individuals engaging in activities or tasks due to external factors such as to earn a reward or avoiding a punishment. Expectancy value theory was developed in 50s and 60s in an effort to understand the achievement motivation of individuals. The theory states that people are motivated by the excitement of success and the reward they will receive when completing the task. This model posits that motivation depends on students' expectation of success and the value they place on the task. Expectancy is an individual's ability to believe of their capabilities to handle the task. In this part, students will ask themselves, am I able to do this? Value is an individual belief about the importance of the task that they are deciding to accomplish. In this part, students will ask themselves why I should do this task. Let me show you some examples on a situation. Yaya feels that she is not doing well in science and therefore doesn't expect to do well in the future. As the result, she is thinking about math-related career because she is good at that and expect to continue doing well on it. Anik is good in English and writing, but he wants to be a science teacher because he really values the importance of environmental science. This example shows how expectancy can affect the student's motivation, but it also shows that the values are sometimes important in student decisions to choose specific courses or career. Both expectancy and value are important concepts that can have powerful effect on students' motivation. The relationship between expectancy and value are working together like a multiplication equation. Means you need to have a modest expectation of your success and you need to have the value for what are you doing. The other presenter will explain more about increasing the expectations and perceived value in the learning and teaching process.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Amir Farhat and I'm going to present about the expectation. So the expectation is about how to increase the expectation of success for the students. So to increase the expectation of success to the student, there are some ways to get the job done. The ways are the teacher must provide opportunities for the success to the student, guide the student to set reasonable goals and assess their own performance, recognize the relationship between efforts and outcome, provide information feedback, and last but not least, to provide motivational support. So first of all, we must provide opportunities for success. So if tasks appear too difficult, students might be afraid to tackle them. So the teacher might have to modify the assignment for different students. One of the ways to solve them is to make open-ended assignments so that the variety of response can be acceptable, or the teacher can provide additional instruction, divide lengthy project into shorter, which is doable by students. This way can enable them to correct their mistakes. Another way to enhance the probability of success is to vary instructional approach so that students with different strengths have equal access to instruction. But first, the teacher needs to identify the student who is having problems with certain subject and try to help them. In better them, an additional instruction is needed so that the student can understand better. Moreover, the instruction must also be explained step by step because not all students can understand a lesson quickly. One other consideration regarding student success is important to mention here. Keep in mind that the process of learning something often involves temporary failure and possibly some frustration. It is important that you allow your student to experience temporary failure in the safety of your classroom so that they can develop needed coping skills and a sense of mastery that will contribute to their motivation to continue learning. Moving on to number 2. Teach students to set reasonable goals and to assess their own performance. To help your student set reasonable goals, I think it is important that you first help them to distinguish between learning, mastery, and performance goals. When students adopt learning goals, they focus on acquiring knowledge or skills. But in contrast, when students adopt performance goals, their focus is on preserving their self-perception and public reputation as competent. The performance goal also act as a target for the students to demonstrate their skills and ability. Lastly, mastery goal is all about developing new skills from the student so that they can accomplish something more challenging things in their life. Next, the teacher also play an important role in determining whether the overall tone of the classroom focus on learning or performance goal. Therefore, the teacher need to be sympathetic and supportive towards their students. One of the ways is to give the student a rubric. As we all know, a rubric can help the student to know what kind of standards that they should be able to achieve in certain lesson. But for mastery goal, self-improvement and skill development is a must for the student to achieve it. We can say that the mastery goal will be achieved if the student themselves willing to work for it. This is because the teacher can only act as a guide for them to achieve it. In a study, some 1,000 through 8th grade students, the researcher found out that school worldwide focus on mastery goals was positively related to student intrinsic motivation. Actually, a positive student-teacher relationship supported students in developing mastery goals. Lastly, for your information, high school students who reported a sense of belonging in the classroom were more likely to adopt mastery goals and to expend effort in learning. Moving on to number 3, help students recognize the relationship between effort and outcome. Some students think that they can do well in their studies without exerting much effort. In simple terms, the teacher must appreciate the student improvement to motivate them. This way is very important to emphasize the student to do well on their studies and assignment. Moving on to number 4, provide informative feedback. From a student perspective, it is infuriating to work hard on assignment, turn in, and then receive no feedback from the teacher. But lack of academic feedback is simply infuriating, but it is also detrimental for student motivation and achievement. So I think the teacher must return back the student assignment as soon as possible. This way, the student will know whether their answer is right or wrong. This way, the student will know their mistakes and learn from it to improve better in future. Moreover, more frequent feedback is offered, the student will pay attention more and learn more. In the feedback, the teacher must point out a student's strength and weakness. By doing this, the student will strive better in studies because they know what they are capable of doing in their studies. So, number 5, provide special motivational support to discouraged students. Limited ability student, I think, really needs special encouragement and motivational support. This is because most of them often think that they cannot perform well in their studies as good as the normal one. It is not true because everybody has their own potential. To develop the potential, a motivational support should be offered to the students so that they will develop more confidence in their mind. Moreover, the teacher should tell the student that learning is not a race. Everybody can learn at any pace as they want because it is not a sin to learn slower than anyone else. Next, moving on towards the poor performing students. Everything has a reason, right? So the teacher should ask the reason what the cause for the poor performance from the student is. Upon hearing them, the teacher can give some tips on how to solve the problems, and to identify the poor performance students, the teacher should know what type of student exists in his class or her class. So I think that's all for me. Let's move on into the next presenter.
Thank you, Solehin. Hello, I'm Akila. In this part, I will explain 4 strategies in increasing the perceived value of the task, and another last 4 will be explained by Aizad. The strategies included relating lessons to students' life, provide opportunities for choices, model interest in learning and express enthusiasm for the material, include novelty materials, provide opportunities students to respond actively, allow students to create finished products, providing opportunities for students to interact with peers, and lastly, provide extrinsic rewards.
One of the important aspects of building positive relationship is learning about the students' lives. We can relate the lessons to the students' own lives. The more you can learn about your students' interests, the more you can tailor your lessons in further engage them. When students are not from the dominant culture, teachers must make a special effort to relate the academic content to reference to their own culture. One of the most obvious ways to ensure that learning activities connect to individuals' personal interests is to provide opportunities for choice. When students experience a sense of autonomy and self-determination, they are more likely to be intrinsically motivated and to bond with school. Students might participate in the design of the academic task, and they will decide how the task is completed and when the task is to be completed. Teachers are tend to use choice as a reward for effort and good behavior rather than as a strategy for fostering effort and good behavior. To help keep your students interested in learning, it is important that you model an interest in it. You can talk with your students about your classes you are taking, or maybe books you are reading, or any other ways that you continue to learn. This method can model interest in learning and express enthusiasm for the material in learning session. Next, we can include novelty or any variety elements into the lessons. We can run any activities that could generate a great deal of enthusiasm. Our activity in class not only reinforced students' understanding of the story but also generated a great deal of enthusiasm. Using interesting and attractive visual aids by using PowerPoint, Canva, or maybe Prezi or any other presentation software rather than simply giving oral reports. This will make the students proud and excited to learn because of the visual aids that strike the presentations.
Thank you, Nuraqilah Fiqah. Now I will continue the next point. Provide opportunities for students to respond actively. It occurs when a teacher invites students to provide a verbal, written or gestural responses. For example, of verbal responses, when teacher asks students, did they understand for the certain topic, the student answer yes or no. There are 3 ways can increase their student opportunities to respond, such as direct instruction, class-wide tutoring, computer-assisted instruction. For direct instruction, instruction is carefully planned when this teaching method is used. Instructional plan include clear learning objective, high rate of opportunities to respond, a structure for the lesson presentation, opportunities for students to engage in guide practice, lesson closure, time for independent student practice, and ongoing assessment of student progress. Second, class-wide tutoring is an approach to cooperative learning is an effective means to increase student opportunities to respond during instruction. In class-wide tutoring, students become proficient in both the teachers and the learner roles, allowing both students the opportunities to enhance their learning by teaching others. Third, computer-assisted instruction is used for teaching or remediating academic or behavior skills. Computer provide a means by which students can interact with the content and receive immediate feedback for their responses. Now, for the positive impact when students respond actively can increase the likelihood that the student will be engaged. The student will gain confidence to respond whether they give true or false statement. Besides that, can demonstrate appropriate and on-task behavior. Then, can provide great number of correct responses. For example, the student will think before answer the teacher's question. Okay, now for the next point. Allow student to create finished product. The teacher set the goals and will allow the student to explore the topic. And also, teacher will act as facilitator in the student-centered approach and provide platform and guidance when necessary for the student. This is more likely like project-based learning. Another ways to increase student motivation, teacher need to provide opportunities for students to interact with peers. By this, it will enhance students to work with one another. Okay, the strategy that can be used to encourage students to interact with peers. First, design the learner to work with one or two peers on a long-term project. By doing this, the learner need to do discussion with their own group to complete the project. Next, provide the learner be responsible being a teacher's aid for learning experience. The student will play role as teachers and teach their peers according to their understand. The last strategy is the learner be the leader of a cooperative learning experience. The benefit of interact with peers is the student can improve their attitude towards learning. For example, in the classroom, when each student get to know each other in a good way, it will create positive environment. By interact with peers in learning also can lead the student to get higher academic achievement. Then, the student can gain confidence to talk or approach other member if they got any issue regarding any subject. And for the member that help their peers can sharpen their skills or knowledge toward the subject. Now, for my last point is provide extrinsic rewards. It is useful to provide rewards for engaging students in the behavior that support learning and for academic achievement. Reward divide into three groups. For the first group is social, verbal and non-verbal indication. For example of verbal reward like praise the student, and for the non-verbal like giving sticker smiley on their exercise book. Then for the second group is activity. Use special activity as reward. For activity reward, teacher need to aware what the student interest. For example, play music in class while break time or not give over homework for a day. Then for the third group is tangible material rewards. For example, give candy, cookies or present. The problem raised when give rewards to students is it will increase pressure among the students. Pressure will lead to insecurity. It is far better to build confidence from the inside by designing activities that challenge students than it is to simply reward them. Other issues raised is give reward is more likely to control and manipulate the student. For example, a student got a good result and the teacher compare with other students who did not get a good result. Like us, we don't like when we've been compared to others, right? So there are pros and cons when we want to give rewards to students. Teacher need to think carefully to maintain positive environment in class.
Hello and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amir Farhat bin Muhammad Fauzi, and today I will continue on tips for using rewards. The first tips for using reward is use verbal rewards to increase the motivation to engage in academic tasks. Praise can have positive impacts on students' motivation to study. The teachers need to remember that some students can be embarrassed by public praise. Praise should be specific, sincere and suitable for the students. The second tips for using reward is reward students for improvement or effort. Teachers should reward the students based on improvement and effort because it can potentially qualify all the students. Students should not be rewarded for achieving somewhat arbitrary goals because it might upset the students who do not get it. The third tips for using reward is save tangible rewards for activities that students find unattractive. Activities that the students can enjoy should not be rewarded as they can enjoy the activities without the reward. Save the compensation for the activities that might be boring for the students. And the fourth tip for using reward is if using tangible rewards, provide them unexpectedly after the task performance. Students are more likely to view the rewards as information about their performance and as an expression of the teacher's pleasure rather than as an attempt to control their behavior. The next tips for using reward is be extremely careful about using expected tangible rewards. If the teacher chooses to use them, be sure to make them contingent upon completing a certain task or achieving a specific level of performance. If you reward them by simply engaging in a task, regardless of the performance, they will likely spend less on the task once the reward is removed. The next tip is make sure that you select the rewards that student likes. Teachers need to use rewards that are suitable and likable by all the students. The teachers cannot hope that animal stickers can be a good reward for the high school students. Teachers need to choose rewards that are likable as they can motivate the students. And the last tips for using reward is keep your program of reward simple. A complex reward system is impossible to be maintained throughout the year. The fancier the system, the more likely it will be abandoned. If the reward is fancier than the learning, it will overshadow the true meaning of rewards in education. Students will be more focused on collecting the rewards than learning the education. Okay, let's move on to the fourth part of the presentation, motivating underachievers and disaffected students. What are underachievers and disaffected students? Underachievers exhibit a severe discrepancy between expected achievement and the actual achievement. The students have academic expectations put toward them but cannot match them to the actual performance. Underachievers can also manifest into top students that fail to maintain their position on the top. The students are poorer than the expected performance that the teachers have set. The teachers expect some students to perform well but they fail to deliver it. While disaffected students are the students that regularly ignore the teacher's instructions. There may be some students in the class that do not take your instructions seriously. They instead do their own things in the class. Teachers might think that the students do not want to be taught and consider how to force them if they are not interested. However, teachers can help them by motivating them and make them realize the benefits of education themselves. Next, we will continue on the ways to motivate underachievers and disaffected students. The first way is to resocialize such students' attitude and belief. Resocialization is how one's sense of social values, belief, and norms is re-engineered. Teachers need to use all of the strategies that have been mentioned before in a more sustained and personalized ways in order to motivate the underachievers and disaffected students. Some students' behavior has already become a norm to them, and teachers need to ensure that the classroom environment can help them realize what is good and what is terrible for them. The teachers must sustain this type of efforts in order to help the student resocialize and get motivated. The next way is showing students that you care about them as students and also as people. Some research shows that when students perceive their teachers as caring and supportive, they are more likely to be academically motivated, engage in the classroom, and behave responsibly. It significantly will also help the students that are alienated or marginalized. The student want the teachers to be warm demanders, which can provide a tough-minded, no-nonsense, structured, and disciplined classroom environment for students who are psychologically and physically abused. The next step to motivate underachievers and disaffected students is by triggering engagement in tasks. By triggering engagement in tasks that the student view as dull or irrelevant, there is at least a chance that some genuine interest can be developed. Engagement triggers can be shown as connecting a topic or activity to pleasure increases the student's desire and ability to engage in learning. It can also help generate curiosity in students that can lead to some interest in their education. For example, underachievers or disaffected students can be motivated if they find something that can attract their curiosity. And the last way is to give them extrinsic rewards. Extrinsic rewards is to provide tangible incentive for the students. It can come in the form of candy, stickers, money, food coupon, and many others. The tips can help be the trigger for their motivation. Some students may take an interest and get motivated in learning if they are given some incentive. The disaffected students will care about their education, and the underachievers will work harder to meet the expectation because of the rewards. But the teachers cannot always abuse the rewards. The prize needs to be done once in a while and not every day, as it can spoil the students. In conclusion, motivation is a very important element, especially in students' education. Nothing will change in the classroom if the students are not motivated. Teachers also need to be the factors that can encourage and motivate the student by creating a space that stimulates their motivation in the class. That's all from us. Thank you.
Hey, serious bro? Wait, kau tinggal kamera.